It's about to start.
All right, welcome everybody to our August Testimonials of the Imperfectly Perfect.
Beautiful.
Hi, glad to have you all here. So we're going to start out just like normal and do our perfection exercise. So I would like for you to turn to 2 or 3 of your neighbors and tell them the perfection you see in them. So, for example, Bradford, the perfection I see in you is adventure. It's one of them. I've seen many, but yeah. So let's just take a few minutes and embrace one another.
What are we supposed to do? The perfection I see in you is you speak your mind. Yeah. That's what I see.
Perfection I see in you.
I have trouble seeing you.
Right?
This is just a flip-flop.
Devin? Thank you.
The perfection I see in you is you care for others more than yourself.
Speak loud.
It's so annoying. It's so hard to say, you know.
It's more than anything I could ever imagine.
But I see the love your husband has for you.
The perfection I see in you is a really good Jason. Turn up.
All right. Got a lot of love out there. Okay, so if we have any visitors here today, or if any of them come, just direct them to fill out an envelope and at least with their email, so that way we can keep in touch and keep you updated on all the events that we have. So tonight's going to be a great night, and it's a night of fellowship, a night of nourishment, and a reminder of what's good in the world, because I think a lot of times we don't focus on what's good, it's mostly what's going wrong with the world, and it's just nice to have this little piece of heaven down here tonight.
Yeah.
And so tonight we actually have our very own pastor, which is amazing, to share his experience of how he's come to be where he is today. So everybody welcome J.R. Atkins.
Sorry.
Turn up.
Thank you. So y'all see my cool shirt?
Yes. I thought you were.
House of Blues over here.
Yes.
And you remember, does anyone remember what they said in the movie? What were they on? A mission from God. The Blues Brothers, mission from God. So I kind of feel like that as my opening comment tonight, that I feel like I'm on a mission from God. And some of it has to do with being a pastor, but a lot of it just has to do with, I was very fortunate. I got raised in a Christian environment. I didn't feel like I grew up with an option. Didn't know there was really an option. And that's not too uncommon. There's people that grow up that way. And so I remember going to church as a kid. There were those times when my parents dropped us off at Sunday school and came and picked us up later. So it wasn't like the perfect where everyone was going to church. You know, we had our ups and downs and stuff. But it was a blessing to be able to grow up in church and around that. I remember, though, not being so pleasant when I got to high school. So I don't know why my mom and I were talking that day, but I remember sitting on my bed, her standing in the doorway, and I remember telling her, I don't know why I need God. Things are going just fine as they are.
Typical thing.
Because you have God.
Tempting. So, you know, that kind of represents one of those low points, I guess. High school went pretty good, you know, normal challenges that anyone would have. Hormones are going, you're concerned about who likes you and who doesn't. I go into college, and that's probably really the first time that I hit the wall and could not come up with my own solution. You know, I was in the ROTC program at Texas A&M, so that meant I wore a uniform 7 days a week. Had to shine shoes, they'd inspect your uniform, make sure there was no little threads hanging off, make sure your brass was shined. And as a freshman, you were hazed all the time. So if I saw an upperclassman walking to class, I had to run up get in step with them, and then introduce myself. Hi, I'm Fish Atkins. I'm from Houston, and I'm taking marketing. And he'd introduce himself. So constant hazing. So I remember this was in the spring of my freshman year. I was going with 3 of my buddies to one of the sophomores' room for uniform inspection of the room in the morning. I remember knocking on their door. Come in! And I remember that thinking, oh God, I am not ready. This is going to be terrible. I'm going to have to do all kinds of push-ups and run laps and all kinds of terrible things because my uniform's not ready. And I remember going in. We were all standing there, at attention. 3 freshmen, 4 freshmen lined up. And they're looking at us. Look pretty good, Fish Atkins. And I was just remember thinking, was that an answer to prayer? And at my level of faith at the time, it was. It was really the first time I can remember crying out to God and saying, I can't see how I can make it through this without you. And, it was a cry from what you might say an immature faith, a beginning faith. I was 18 years old and had some experience in church, some Christian rearing. By the end of that period of my life, I was actually leading a Bible study, the first one I had ever led. I'm not even sure I had participated in small group Bible study, but had connected with some other Christian men in college. And as a senior, they said, why don't you hold one with freshmen in your room? So I got to do that. That's actually in my ordination paperwork as my call to ministry. It was probably the first time I felt called where someone said, would you step up and lead? Let's see, out of college, I moved from Texas A&M to Columbus, Mississippi. And I didn't know anyone. Now, I literally my parents were moving. So they're like, look, if you don't move your stuff, we're not moving it. So I had a Ryder truck with everything I own. Now, I don't know about if you've left home, did you get to leave anything in a closet? The attic? If you go home now, is your room still set up like when you were 18 years old and left high school? Have you seen that in movies or maybe experienced? I took everything with me to Columbus, Mississippi, didn't know a soul. So, I remember finding a place to live, getting my electricity turned on, getting my landline turned on, and then I showed up at First United Methodist Church in Columbus, Mississippi, and just like they said, open doors, open hearts, open minds, they opened their arms to me, and I immediately had a connection with other people that were in my age group. They took me down to the river and showed me where they water skied. They took me to some other places and showed me some other things they did. It was a rich nightlife. And that was my connection. That was my family. I lived there for about 9 months before being moved to California, where I did the same thing. And from there, I moved to Texas and did the same thing. And then I moved to New Orleans and I did the same thing. It was my mode of operation, my modus operandi. Everywhere I moved, I was able to instantly find connection and community. So I was fortunate in all through up to probably the 90s of having a good, loving Christian environment to support me and keep me going. My son came along in 1993, and that was probably the crowning achievement. When you have an opportunity to share in giving life, boy, that changes things. Your understanding of God's love for you, like you have for a being that you contributed to bringing life, is very much a special opportunity. And I remember going, oh, that's what people mean when they're so excited because they have kids. Fast forward along the next, 10 or so years, it was kind of a rough patch. 1994, I had an unexpected divorce, and that really rocked my world. I remember thinking, why, God? I think I've done everything I'm supposed to do. I followed all the manuals that the people in business told me they're supposed to do to be successful. I've read books on marriage and relationships, and we tried. How can it be that we're getting a divorce? That really rocked my world. focused my time on raising my son in shared custody. For 3 years in a row, I flew to Minneapolis from Dallas to have time with my son, and I spent 3 or 4 days. I'm very grateful for the employers and people I worked with that would give me that time off. And it's fun to talk to my son. He says, yeah, man, my friends would say, your dad must be wealthy to come in and spend time with you. They didn't know I was spending every dime I had to get there and try to live some form of normal life. We went to the same hotel and tried to stay in the same room every time because I'd negotiated ahead of time. We did homework together. We played and had fun. I'd go up to the school and read. You know, it was probably the highlight of my life was being with him during these difficult years. Ended up getting remarried through someone at the church. Church is a great place to find somebody to share your life with and your idea. But unfortunately, that one ended in divorce as well. My first marriage, I was married for 7 years. My second one, I was married for 6 years. Tough times. I remember asking God and counselors, therapists, why me? What did I do? It's not like, you know, I didn't go out and do drugs. I didn't get stoned. You know, maybe I should have because I got divorced anyway. Maybe I should have slept around. It still ended up. It was a very tough time. I remember how lonely the night was because I could keep active during the day. But that still quiet moment comes in the evening as I'd sit on my bed and I'd lay down and I might pray, and then it was just a terrible feeling of loneliness. Through all of it, though, God was there and provided some good people, Christian counselors and therapists and friends to support me and love on me and keep me going. Then in 2004, I ran across an old friend from college. A girl I dated one time and was so stupid I let her get away. I actually broke up with her when we were in college. And that's my wife today, Stacy. So we were married on December 15th, 2006. We're about this December to celebrate 12 years of marriage. Most of them good. all of them good. So definitely things began to improve there. 2009, I started my consulting business. Began doing speaking and consulting on social media and online marketing. I had got my MBA in 2006, and that kind of sharpened my skills for doing more consulting work. But it was a difficult time then, too. Did anyone remember what the economy was like around 2009?
I remember.
I'm a victim.
Yeah. I talked to someone yesterday, a realtor, was telling me, man, I lost everything. I bought a house, thought I was going to flip it, and lost it all. So it was a very difficult time. But I was very energized because social media was new. And I was getting to teach and speak and deliver a new service. It was an exciting time to be in business, so that kind of fueled me for a few years and kept me exciting, kept life exciting as our family continued to grow and such. And with that, if it's not too early, can we pause?
Yeah.
And I'll come back and do the second half after we get some food.
Yeah, go.
All right.
All right, thanks for that. All right, so what we're going to do now is there's food available, and nourish yourself and enjoy fellowship. All right. Okay. And we'll be back in the meantime.
Music.
What now?
We get music?
Yeah, in the meantime, we're going to have Devin come up here and show us some of his artistry. All right, everybody welcome Devin.
No, I don't need that. I don't need that. How's everybody doing today? Welcome. Good. Whoo! Man. You could be anywhere, but you're here. So, we're going to talk about some trials and tribulations. Because that's what we go through, right? It's part of the testimony.
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just shy of a track on the album. And nobody's perfect about it.
Yeah. Through trials and tribulations, it's hard, but I'm patient. I gotta pick up my cross. By your stripes, I'm still healing. Through my trials and tribulations, it's hard, but I'm patient. I gotta pick up my cross. By your stripes, I'm still healing. From the closet to the attic, carry a lot of baggage. Just think I'm like that Titanic, no panic, that's hard to manage. When I'm in bondage to traffic, deceptive by tactics. Hard like plastic, withdrawing cash that I added. The loss attracted like magic, feeling dramatic. Brain full of static in my flesh, won't listen, cause conviction means discipline. My own understanding has pushed away instructions. I suffer the repercussions after many discussions. I get angry and start fussing, pursuing my own solutions is only causing confusion. Little technical difficulties.
Leave my life in ruins, I can't take it no more. But it's hard to let go. Should I pray? I don't know. Maybe I think so. Try to hide that pride deep down inside when I look.
All right, we're back. Little technical difficulties. Yeah, so it's a beautiful night.
You know, I'm just
You can be
shy
at
of
home
track.
relaxing after work, after a long day,
Nobody's perfect about it.
doing whatever, but we're here. Through my trials and tribulations, it's hard, but I'm patient. I gotta pick up my cross. By your stripes, I'm still healing. Through my trials and tribulations, it's hard, but I'm patient. I gotta pick up my cross. By your stripes, I'm still healing. From the closet to the attic, I carry a lot of baggage. And sinking like that Titanic, no panic, that's hard to manage. When I'm in bondage to traffic, deceptive by tactics. Hard like plastic, withdrawing cash that I added. The loss attracted like magic, feeling dramatic. Brain full of static in my flesh, won't listen, cause conviction means discipline. My own understanding has pushed away instructions. I suffer the repercussions after many discussions. I get angry and start fussing, pursuing my own solutions is only causing confusion. Like, what am I doing? Leave my life in ruins, I can't take it no more. But it's hard to let go. Should I pray? I don't know. Maybe I think so. Try to hide that pride deep down inside. And when I look into the mirror, man, and all I see is a lie. Through my trials and tribulations, it's hard, but I'm patient. I gotta pick up my cross. By your stripes, I'm still healing. Through my trials and tribulations, it's hard, but I'm patient. I gotta pick up my cross. By your stripes, I'm still healing. Look, I see the pain and the agony, but Lord, give me empathy, so I can feel your heartbeat. When you pour your mercy, cause physically I'm unworthy and born filthy, but you healed me and I'm set free. So can I pray this off my chest? Lord Jesus, take the stress. Got warrants for my arrest and they wanna possess. What do you suggest? Cause it ain't easy being dead to my flesh, let me express. Give you my burdens and then rest. I confess I'm not the best. Sometimes I hot mess. Fresh out the press, ready for that success. Vanity vain, deliverance is a process through progress. Nevertheless, I expect your request that I glory through your infirmities, cause one day my family will be set free for eternity. Here's a testimony. Through my trials and tribulations, it's hard but I'm patient. I gotta pick up my cross. By your stripes I'm still healing. Through my trials and tribulations, it's hard but I'm patient. I gotta pick up my cross. By your stripes I'm still healing. Yeah. Through my trials and tribulations, it's hard but I'm patient. Go, Brad. I gotta pick up my cross. By your stripes, I'm still healing. Thank God for those trials and tribulations, right? Makes us stronger. It's hard, but I'm patient. I gotta pick up my cross, right? By your stripes, I'm still healing. Yeah. So on that note, when you're going through a lot of things, sometimes you want to do what we doing now, which is just chilling, relaxing, fellowshipping, eating food. And so, hop in the car with me, because we finna go on a ride. Hey, 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 hey. Put your hands up, put your hands up. Check it. And I just wanna chill for the day, no work, all play. Put my hands up like hey. Turn my music loud, drive far away. Chill with the fam like all day. I just wanna chill for the day, no work, all play. By the way, I can't sing. Hey, chill with the fam like all day. Jet skis and palm trees, somewhere overseas. Top down, wind breeze, orange juice, fresh squeeze. French coffee for the wifey. Ain't no waking up early in the morning, no yawning. I'm snoring, yup, sleeping on the world cause it's boring. What a piece of passing, so relaxing. Feet kick back and I'm laughing. Imagine chilling with a passion. Turn my phone off, turn my car off, turn my lights off, turn my mind off. Just chilling. Turn my phone off, turn my car off, turn my lights off, turn my mind off. Just chilling. And I just wanna chill for the day, no work, all play. Put my hands up like hey. Turn my music loud, drive far away. Chill with the fam like all day. I just wanna chill for the day, no work, all play. With my hands up like hey. Turn the music loud, drive far away. Chill with the fam like all day. Sit back and unwind, stretch as I recline on the cruise line. Tan lines from the sunshine, now that's a good time. Just coasting, floating, jumping off, diving in the ocean. I soak it in, cocoa butter on my skin. Feeling good, feeling great, like season on the steak. Just put it on my plate, no fast pace, take it slow for the day. Clear skies, no gray. Hey, what can I say? Turn my phone off, turn my car off, turn my lights off, turn my mind off. Just chilling. Turn my phone off, turn my car off, turn my lights off, turn my mind off. Just chilling, cuz I just wanna chill for the day, no work, all play. Put my hands up like hey. Turn my music loud, drive far away. Chill with the fam like all day. I just wanna chill for the day, no work, all play. How many of y'all just wanna chill for the day, relax, and just be at peace, you know? Have some fun. Chill with the fam like all day. So yeah. That's what we doing tonight. We chilling in the Holy Spirit. You know, nothing like chilling in the Holy Spirit. So this next song is it's about alcoholism. I don't know if you know this, but the death rate is extremely high due to alcohol. Drunk driving, fights, family, marriages have broken up. I mean, there's so much, and I would just like to elaborate. I'm so tired, I'm so tired. Hey man, let me get another shot, man. I can't take it no more, man. I really need to just drain my thoughts. It's like when you're drunk. Look, I'm just sipping on emotions, drinking magic potion, drowning in a toxic ocean. Another dead man floating. They look back and say, dang, where he going? Swimming in the current of an empty bottle. Got me drowning in a river full of liquor, feeling hollow. My rope, my toe, Moscato. Taking shots from the barrel, seeing double. I don't sip, I just guzzle. Swallow my own troubles when I struggle on them cold days. Look to bring heat like a hot wave. On the rocks at the cave, I bury my own grave. Now I'm just another slave. family members back at home that just goes back to that bottom. So I pray for breakthrough. I pray for healing. Yeah. Gotta fight to win.
I just wanna let it go. In this liquid war full of cold sores, makeup couldn't cover up the gore. I know it's hard to ignore every bruise, every soul just letting me drinking more. I can't take it no more, so I take it out on you, putting holes through the door. There was nothing you can do when I slammed you on the floor, waist deep. Glass shattered between my feet, very cut, I feel the heat. Now I can barely sleep. Waking up in cold sweats, feeling like a hot mess. And yes, I got that hangover stress, taking shots off the chest. You can smell it in my breath.
I pray for breakthrough, I pray for freedom. Break the chains of alcoholism. I know who's my daddy. Yeah. Jesus. Right. Move, Holy Spirit.
I should've listened, but that liquor had me tripping. Now my guests need permission to see that they homie missing. Cause it ain't living when that plastic got you breathing oxygen.
Yeah. If you know a loved one, or you personally struggling, or you think about it from time to time, put your hands in the air. We're gonna do a prayer in the name of Jesus. That we break that chain, that we break the thoughts, that we speak healing in the name of Jesus, that it moves. In Jesus' name. Gotta fight to win. Let's win, Lord. Thank you for the victory. Alright, so after something like that, we know Jesus got the victory, and he's returning. How many of y'all excited about his return? Because I'm amped up, I'm turned up, and I'm excited, because I know who he is, and I know what time it is when he comes. Yeah. Yeah, look, check it.
Tats on my right hand, shafar on demand, blowing like a ceiling fan. Open skies, they expand. It's a bird, it's a plane, nah, it's the son of man. I used to be a soldier, now I reign with my friend. Busting through the eastern gates with the dead in grave shape. Making heads rotate, the voice of waters penetrate. Eyes of fire illuminate, brown speed carry weight. Sound the trumpets blow away, 24 elders, 7 seals, no pressure. Slipping blows of measure, book of life full of letters, reflectors of our endeavors. What you could get, it was written, I ain't back again. On a mission, never slipping here to slay sin. Now they hopping out their skin. Back then they was mocking, laughing when they had the option. Stop it. Right here they looking for a profit. Sign a peace treaty off of Israel and drop it. I gotta make it to heaven no matter what. This world ain't good enough to 1,000 years plus. 30 minutes of silence and the still just opened up. And it's making my heart rush, yeah. I gotta make it to heaven no matter what. This world ain't good enough to 1,000 years plus. 30 minutes of silence and the still just opened up. Yes, check it, check it. I can feel the Lord's tears splitting the atmosphere. So get your land and give. The Spirit was volunteer to reign for 1,000 years. Jesus Christ, a time engineer, broke gravity in the pit from each angle. With many angels, phenomenal demons dropping like dominoes through these obstacles. His nickname powerful.
powerful, untouchable, incredible. Break you down like parables, literal. Eastern walls crumble like Jericho. Miracle, yeah boy, anything is possible. King of kings, Lord of lords, no peace but a sword. Well for the rage war and more. Revelations 4, I look and behold the door. The opportunity's yours. Rooted in the gravel, waters above my ankle, no longer wrestle a tangle. We born to judge angels, this type of biblical, and I'm the sketch to his pencil, erasing issues of open rebuke. Yeah, I gotta make it to heaven no matter what. This scroll ain't good enough to 1,000 years plus. 30 minutes of silence and the seal just opened up. Gates no longer shut, this making my heart rush. Yeah, I gotta make it to heaven no matter what. This scroll ain't good enough to 1,000 years plus. 30 minutes of silence and the seal just opened up. Gates no longer shut, this making my heart rush. Yeah. So, I'm excited about his return, and you should be too. Oh, man. All right. Oh, DJ Sean Swift. On the ones and twos. Real good man. Really good man. Y'all should get to know him after the service.
Another one.
Another one.
Thank you. Thank you. That was exciting stuff. You think you can teach me to rap like that? Not only can white boys not jump.
Yes, I have lessons every Tuesday at 4 o'clock.
The remedial lessons, like slow association in Dallas. I'd been a representative there for another company that I worked for doing marketing. And I came back to visit because I enjoyed the friendship. And a lady got up and introduced me and she goes, yeah, and J.R. Atkins is here and he's doing something different now. And it just stuck with me because I wanted a company name that was broad enough that would somehow cover the things that I might possibly come up with in the future. And number two, I wanted a name that I could sell. If it was the J.R. Atkins Company, it's not very sellable. So those were a couple of my criteria in addition to being something I could run from anywhere in the world based on a laptop and a telephone, which it's been a good run, almost 10 years now. So that started in 2009, and we've had a good run. But there along 2013 came a very special time of what I call surrender in my life. Although we were members downtown in town at a church, there was a church right across the street from where we lived. And you ever have those Sunday mornings where you don't quite wake up when the alarm goes off? Then you finally get up and you go, wow, I can't make it to church. And then you look across the street and you look at the coffee and you look at what you've got on and you go, I could go there just like this. And I did. It was a very good experience. It was actually a non-denominational church. Assemblies of God was the underlying organization. Wonderful preaching, a wonderful example of a growing, thriving community. Probably would have stayed a lot longer, but they wouldn't let me on stage because I couldn't wear skinny jeans. But that's another story. Excellent experience. I was sitting there one Sunday listening to this sermon, and it just occurred to me, you know, I've done just about everything that I wanted to do in life. There's probably one thing I haven't done, and it's not holding the same attraction that it once did, and that was make $1 million in 1 year. Otherwise, I got to travel. I liked where we lived, what kind of car I drove, the kind of activities I filled my life with. But, you know, something was still missing there. And things weren't perfect. They probably looked pretty good on the outside. I remember going to the second Tuesday happy hour at the Ritz-Carlton every month and having a room full of friends and cocktail in one hand and business cards in the other, and just really enjoying myself and meeting and connecting a lot of people. But there was still something missing there, a certain hollowness, you might say. So I remember sitting in church and telling God, you know, I think I'm done. I think you can have it all. You can have where I live, what I drive, what I do, how I define myself, what I tell other people about myself. You can have it all. The only thing I really want is my family. And I'll trust that you'll make everything else happen. So it was really a moment of what I call solid surrender. I had tried to surrender at other times in my life. I remember when I lived in Mississippi and was traveling around the state, getting up for a run early morning. It was dark. I remember running on the side of a highway somewhere and stopping, getting down my knees and praying, Lord, I surrender. And about the time I got back up, I picked back up my stuff and just kept on going and forgot about the surrender. I mean, they didn't seem to last or stick. But this one did. This one stuck. I remember going to lunch, because I was in service that day by myself, going to lunch with my wife and saying, yeah, God and I had a little talk today. You're not going to believe what I told him. And to my amazement, when I shared that I was willing to surrender and really see what life would be like following God, she said, me too. Probably one of the greatest gifts you could get from a spouse is to be on the same song sheet with each other and with God. So things kind of kicked into motion pretty quick. Within 30 days, we had decided to move. We had already been thinking about it. We were living in the suburbs of Dallas. We had hoped to get back in town. My son had graduated from high school and was in college, so he didn't need to be in that town anymore. So there were some other things going on in life, you know, that were kind of prompting us, but this was really the straw that broke the camel's back, as they say, this surrendering moment. I remember sitting in our living room with a small group that we had started through church and telling them the story that we feel God calling us to move. And we want to get out of the suburb and out of Dallas and out of the habits and ways that we've been practicing for the last however many years and have some kind of fresh start. So we moved to Gatesville, Texas, small little town, county seat, not necessarily in the middle of somewhere, but more likely in the middle of, well, you get the idea. Nowhere. It's close to Fort Hood, if you follow Army at all. It's the largest Army base on the continental United States, and it sits at the north end of the fort, so Gatesville. We moved there. My parents have a ranch there. Moved there and got involved in the local church and started really looking at the things in our life. What was important? What did we want to keep? What did we want to shutter? During that time, Stacy started a nonprofit called Something Different Ministries, where she and we would go out to local churches and teach Bible study or workshops, or also sponsor trips to sacred places like the Holy Land or to a local place in town, in the state. It was really a good time. We could see God moving in our lives. We were being fed by a local community. It was nice being close to my family. I hadn't lived that close to my family since I left high school, since I graduated high school. I'd never moved back home. I'd always moved around the country and lived somewhere else. It was really a time of what I'd call reprioritizing and trusting God. Very much a time of where we, through that surrender, there was a change in decision-making process. Instead of thinking what's best for business or what's going to make the most money or what's going to make me feel the best about myself, we began to look at things like, well, what is God calling us to do with our life, our money, our resources? And since then, I've kind of looked back and I've read a really good book by a guy named Richard Rohr, who talks about the second part of your life. And during the first part of your life, you're accumulating and building a vessel, yourself. And you're filling that vessel. But at some point in your life, you may reach some level of maturity where you begin to empty the vessel and share more. Or you become a vessel for others or a vessel for God. So I didn't know it then, but that's very much what was going on with us. So Stacy and I had been at church. We were teaching Covenant Bible Study. Anyone know what Disciple Bible Studies is? So the Methodist Church through the upper room came out with another series called Covenant Bible Studies. We were teaching that at our local church. And I remember coming in to visit my parents, and in the living room, my dad said, "Have you ever thought about becoming a pastor?" And I just stopped. It was one of those silent moments. First of all, my dad's kind of a quiet guy. He's the kind of guy that, you know, I told you I love you once, nothing's changed, so why do I need to say it again? Wasn't overly religious. He was raised as a Baptist and carried a certain amount of resentment with him, and believed in God, but, you know, wasn't really the first person to get up in the morning and go, "Let's all go to church." So when I heard him say this, I didn't think it was from him. I perceived that God's moving in my life and speaking to me through my dad, much like Moses in his burning bush moment. I mean, if you think that was kind of like a stark type of speaking of God through a burning bush, that's what it was like my dad saying, "Hey, have you ever thought about becoming a preacher?" Really made me think about things. So really the next week was a time of discernment. First, I went right in and saw my wife and go, "You're not going to believe what my dad just asked me." I think the second call I made was to my son, then my brother, my sister, and then some friends. My pastor was on vacation. As soon as he got back, and by the way, what's interesting, I got to preach. I think that was my first time that Sunday. I was a lay person in the church, and he had asked if I would preach. So it's kind of, I just now realized that the first time I ever preached, it was the week leading up to that when my call came. So I'm sure my pastor went, "Yeah, one chance to preach, and you think you want to do it for good." But he was encouraging, and continues to be a good mentor in my life today. Over the next few months, other things began to fall in place. So Stacy had worked at Delta Airlines as a flight attendant, but had left them due to a disability. And it was never really an official leaving. You know, it's not like there was a final cake, there was no certificate, there was no final check or statement. She's kind of opted out of the system. And they lost her phone number. She changed phone numbers. I got the call that said, "Do you know Miss Stacy Groom Atkins?" I'm like, "Uh-oh, bill collector." And they called her back up to work. So this is going on the same time, and I remember thinking, wait a minute, I thought I got the call to go be a preacher. Now you're calling her to go back to work? Oh, she had the option. She could have taken retirement. That's what I think she ought to do. But I told her, honestly, I'll accept whatever you want to do, which is why we're here and why she works for Delta Airlines. So again, another moment really of surrender and trusting that although I thought, well, you know, we got this one venture planned, and I'm going to go to school here in Texas at Perkins School of Theology at SMU in Dallas. I was already registered. Instead, she went back to school, and I came to visit her. So she spent 7 weeks at the Hilton on Virginia Avenue as a part of the new flight attendant training. So she'd been out long enough, they said, "Oh, you're going to go back through again." So I woke up one Sunday morning and went, I'm going to find the closest Methodist church. And where do you think I ended up? Right here. And immediately, do you? Yeah, so every time I go to the sanctuary, there's one place that I sit and go, I got the text from my mom and my kitty cat died sitting right here in this seat. There's all kinds of little funny connections. I was here one day on my dad's birthday at the back porch of the Drip and called him on his birthday. And he was dead 2 years later. So there's a lot of little bitty special little things that make Hapeville special. But anyway, so I was visiting here. If that's money, I want part of it. God called me to correct my errors. You said surrender. So I got to know people here at the church and therefore in the community. Thomas Sheets and I hit it off perfect. I think it's because I had been here a couple of times, and I would get a ride from the van from the Hilton over, but I'd have to find a ride back or Uber back. So, Paige's husband's name is?
Joe.
Joe gave me a ride one time.
You remember when I took you home?
Did you?
Yes.
Wow.
He does not remember.
Does not remember. Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it's a Sunday school.
That's why we were connected on Facebook.
Yeah, and we got Facebook.
Yeah.
A long time ago, though.
It was.
Yeah.
I remember, so beside the church even, oh, I got to tell you. So Thomas Sheets, how we got connected, Stacy was with me that day, and I knew he was choir director, and I guess we were on that side of the building. We came out, we wanted to go to the movies, and we had found the movie theater not far away. So he came out and slowed down long enough that I could ask him, hey, do you think you could give us a ride? So he gave us a ride to the movie theater, and that's how I got to know Thomas. And then we kept friends, till this day. Still calls and gives me encouragement for what we're doing here. Still loves the people of the church. Connected with people in the community. David Burt, the arts consultant, and a lady, her name escapes me. She doesn't work for the city anymore, but I'd gotten somehow... Allie, thank you, Allie. We had coffee over at the Drip, and we were talking about the Main Street and what was going on with arts and how they were going to be putting these containers around and how the back part of behind the shops was going to be bricked and, the arts activity here. And I said, well, what are you doing for like workshops for businesses? I do social media workshops, usually as part of the Chamber of Commerce. So that was our connection. But I remember that vision then for the arts here. And still friends with him, have coffee and lunch every once in a while. So there was this incredible connection with the people of Hapeville. Love, support, openness, friendship. So that through my 3 years of seminary, I still would, get updates from the CBS class and different people that I knew here and have that connection. So this past January, well, let's see, I got to go to an event where I saw Dr. Kirkland. Now, Dr. Kirkland, our district superintendent, I had actually called her during my first few weeks before seminary started, because Thomas said that after Paige left, y'all were going to have a student pastor. So I knew no one. I didn't know how it worked. I got her number and called. Dr. Kirkland, you don't know me, but my name's J.R. Atkins. I'm from Texas, and I just moved to Atlanta. And Thomas Sheets said I should call you and see if I could be the new student pastor at your church. And then she began to ask a few questions like, have you been to seminary? No, ma'am, I'm signed up to go. Are you a certified candidate? No, I'm just about to start that process. And she's like, do you know anything about our church and our system? Not much, but I'm willing to learn. I didn't know anything. I wasn't supposed to be calling and doing that. But that's how I got introduced to her. And then I saw her at an event about last November. And then in January, I was sitting in the airport in Denver, and I got a phone call from her saying, would you like to fill in at Hapeville First Methodist? And that's the first time I got to fill in and preach here. And then I think that may have been the last time y'all met, or shortly thereafter, y'all went on your 10-week sabbatical. And then got a call back later. Well, actually, I went to lunch and had lunch with some people, and we had talked then about, wow, if y'all ever needed a new pastor, I sure would love it here. That would be fun. And then I got a call from John Christian going, hey, we really like you. And I was like, you got to write a letter to the district superintendent. I can't be involved. And I think somebody did. Anyway, one thing led to another, and that's how I got here as your pastor. Thank you. So as I bring this to a close, I thought, that's kind of a story, a roundabout series of stories about what my life is about and ups and downs. But the point would be, well, what do you want someone to take away from that? And I think the first thing would be, if there's anything that I said that you can relate to, and it somehow help you to visit, I'd love to visit, a point of connection. Probably the next thing it would be, and I didn't go into this much, but there are things that happen in our lives that form us spiritually. And I really didn't know about that. There was a few things I did when I was younger as an adult. Anyone heard of Walk to Emmaus? It's a 3-day retreat offered by the Upper Room. I remember going through Walk to Emmaus, and then after that, I was in a group that met weekly for almost 14 years of men on every Friday morning. That was formation. I was a part of Methodist Men. I was part of another group called Christian Businessmen's Committee. So these were things that were partly formation, spiritual formation. It's almost like, you go to college or you go to a trade school to learn a craft and become something greater than you were before you entered. It's not necessarily just about what you learn, it's who you become that's important. And it's really what's made a difference in my life in the last 4 years, is the formation and how that surrender at least allowed me to be open that what was going on, no matter how much it might have sucked at the moment or how terrible it was, I was being formed in some way that God was going to use. And it was really hard for me as a younger person to even believe that or have an understanding. I was so, headstrong. It was lead, follow, get out of my way. And, over time, God's kind of worked on some of those rough spots. A lot of them are still there. But the formation through the things that we do. And I would encourage you to look at, is there anything in your life that you're going through that's helping you form yourself or be formed by others and by God and who God's calling you to be? I remember even, this probably goes back 7 or 8 years ago, as I would write my goals for the year, they began to shift. Instead of being focused on what I would do, they started looking at who am I becoming? Who am I as a human being? I'm not a human doing. But, my earlier goals were like, well, do this, do that, do this, do that. So I've been fortunate to go through seminary. Was one of those formation type experiences. Living in the Holy Land last summer in Bethlehem was another one of the experiences, 10 weeks out of your own environment. And I would encourage you to look at what is forming you now, or what might form you. What are the things that you might be hesitant about that if you let go and let God direct you or lead you, may form you into the person that God is calling you to be. I think that's the only way I've really gotten where I am today, is over the last few years, surrendering and being formed. Because if you'd met me about 10 years ago, there's no way that guy's going to be a preacher. But when you let go, crazier things can happen. Thank you.
That's beautiful, JR. Thank you. All right. So I also want to give a big thank you to Scott for preparing the food wherever he is. He always is. Oh, finally! Wow, one day there he is. All right.
Time that with the trash can, didn't
He's getting stuff done. Thank you to JR for sharing your story. Thank you to DJ.
Sean Swift.
Yes, Sean Swift. And thank you to Devin as well. Also, y'all, please remember that on September, JR, 13th?
13.
On September 13th, we have Jazz on the Lawn, and it's in the front of the church, and it starts at
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock with food trucks. Yes, so please come and join us for our jazz trio and more food and fun. So to close out the evening, Devin's going to grace us with one more Christian rap song. Yes. Which one you want?
I can still jump up here. Alright, so I'm going to do Free Bird. Do a song called Depart From Me. So Depart From Me it's kind of like a continuous trimming, a continuous grooming. Pastor talked about things that allowed him to grow spiritually. And this is a song that will also develop those traits in a more convictional way. So, yeah.
Dang, Jay Manor. What happened to you? Used to be on the street sober, man, all the time, healing. You know, kind of like when you first fall in love with God and then you start doing
This is another one that you just get in the car.
It's like, I don't even know.
Got that old school Motown.
You're not even right.
How many of y'all familiar with Motown?
Really changed up.
Motown. It's got that vibe. Hey,
Depart from me, Pharisees, workers of iniquity. Is this you? Depart from me, Pharisees, workers of iniquity. Think about it. Depart from me, Pharisees, workers of iniquity. Is this you? These people speak of me, but their hearts are far from me. Prayer life moving slow, just going with the flow. And it's been a week or so since we read our Bible. Man, we way too comfortable. Yeah, I said we way too comfortable. And we want revival, caught up in a fantasy, running from reality. Cause I'm stuck in complacency and blinded can't see. Cause my vision of God is what I want him to be. Unfortunately, my enemy is snare me mentally, thinking I'm free. Cause I'm doing ministry, I still argue with family, falling for wicked strategies. Spiritually, physically, financially, now I'm an emergency. My vanity has made me lose my identity. Where in history can you see my integrity? If I have no dignity, but yet giving them glory, and all I hear is depart from me, Pharisees, workers of iniquity, the audacity. I don't understand why I gotta be called a Pharisee. Like,
even as I do this song, I feel conviction myself. Because a lot of the song is talking about myself.
I do my shows and I perform and everything, and I do that, for the people. So I mean,
Depart from me, Pharisees, workers of iniquity. Is this you? Depart from me, Pharisees, workers of iniquity. Think about it. Depart from me, Pharisees, workers of iniquity. Is this you? These people speak of me, but their hearts are far from me, yeah.
Sugar-coated Christian rapper, sweeter than some annihilators. Milk and honey, that's the flavor. No love, only favor. Chasing after paper to go major. A lot of babes getting teeth and they want that meat. You don't feed them, they don't eat. Then it's back to the streets. In that kitchen with that heat, cause you afraid to speak. Or you don't practice what you preach. Learn to live what you teach. And not that watered down, beat around, jump around, act a clown. Who can make the loudest sound? Just to go back home, staying in your comfort zone. Every dog got a closet full of bones, like a fire tombstone. Useless excuses, dried up and fruitless, juiceless, I'm foolish, soulless, selfish, careless. Blood on your hands for not speaking to man about God's plans, knowing that the kingdom at hand. But you too busy studying setting trends, identity lost in game.
Yeah. So we wrestle back and forth with our identity because we associate ourselves with so many things.
That's all I can do.
But just like Pastor said, there's things that like that groom us spiritually, that we take on that shape us, that mold us. So the song isn't just about conviction, it's about where we going. Are we just speaking it, or are we living it? Are we allowing him to groom and shape us?
These people speak of me, but their hearts are far from me, yeah.
Alright, I admit it. You know what I'm saying? I was wrong. I'm just gonna make it.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. And man, beautiful. I love the testimony. You know, and I hope it touches many and many to come. Shout out to DJ Sean Swift. Be sure to look him up. Follow this man on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Come on and